Perfectionism. The voice in the back of our heads telling us this isn't good enough. The voice telling us that we aren't working hard enough. The voice telling us that this picture frame is 0.0001 degrees off tilt. The voice currently sending me into a burnout-fueled self-loathing doomscroll session on the toilet when I really should be working.
Hey, what are you doing? Hey, get the hell out of here! If you're someone who struggles with perfectionism, you know how much of a challenge it can be. It affects so many different areas of our lives, whether it's our work, our home, or our relationships. And you might think that being a perfectionist means you want to have your home in perfect, neat, and working order all the time, or you might tweak things to the nth degree. I would argue that it's not the case entirely, and that it actually goes a little bit deeper.
Perfectionism isn't merely needing everything to be absolutely perfect, though that certainly is a trait that manifests in perfectionists. On a psychological level, perfectionism is when someone attaches their self-worth to demanding self-imposed standards. Perfectionism can seep into some parts of our lives and completely bypass others. We struggle with anxiety, depression, and executive dysfunction because of our perfectionism.
It's really common for perfectionists to fail to live up to their own standards, and this includes me just as much as anybody else. Even now, while I'm recording this, I'm sitting here worried about what people are going to think about this video, and though I'm saying to myself I'm worried about whether this is going to work well with my audience or if people are going to like this video, at the end of the day it actually really comes back to being whether or not I think this video will live up to my own standards.
I spent a good chunk of my mid to late teens and early 20s trying to start a YouTube channel. Each time the content was different, but these attempts all shared one thing in common. The product and the results were never perfect. My videos weren't up to the quality that I demanded of myself, and the results were not up to par with what I had hoped or dreamed could be possible. That is, until one day, midway through my 20s, that I sat down and turned the camera on. Another way I've dealt with perfectionism was in my physical appearance. As a young kid, I was constantly worried about the way my hair looked or if my clothes looked good on me, and truth be told, these are still things that I struggle with to this very day. Anyway, while I'm on this 3-hour-long perfectionism-fueled photo frame adjusting bender, I want to take a quick second to tell you about my brand new newsletter. If you're someone who's into minimalism or self-development, I'm writing this once a week about those topics and any adjacent topics, so if you want to get that, you can hit the link down in the description or go to newsletter.drewalexander.co. Oh, damn it. I've spent so much of my life struggling with perfectionism, and because of it, I've never felt truly successful. I've always felt like my car wasn't good enough, the amount of money I have isn't good enough, or my apartment doesn't look good enough, or this video doesn't look good enough. This is something that I struggle with on a regular basis and have to be cognizant of before I let it consume my life. So how do you fight perfectionism at its core? Well, over the last few years, I've really come to terms with my own perfectionism, and there are two things that have stood out to me that have been the most beneficial. And the first one is to let go of control. In a research article written in October of 2010, psychology and business professors from Rutgers and Columbia universities assert that the control of our environment is a vital part of human nature. To quote, "In this review, we present evidence that suggests the desire for control is not something we acquire through learning, but rather is innate, and thus likely biologically motivated. We are born to choose. The existence of the desire for control is present in animals and even very young infants before any societal or cultural values of autonomy can be learned." So if it's in our nature to actively seek out control, how do we let go of it? Well, I will tell you, you're never going to let go of 100% of it. We're not Jim Carrey and Yes Man.
Yeah, Rooney?
Yo, Carl, hitting the clubs? Got a case of Red Bull? Gonna pull an all-nighter. You down?
Yeah.
One of the ways I practice letting go of control is by putting myself into uncomfortable situations that force me to give up a little bit of that control. So socializing with new people is one of them. I'm a reformed picky eater, so trying new foods, and also sitting in front of this camera are just a couple ways that I practice letting go of that control. In addition to letting go of control and getting comfortable with that which we can't control, I think it's really beneficial to practice mindfulness around your perfectionist tendencies. Mindfulness has become a bit of a buzzword over the last decade, quickly placing images of meditating monks, incense, and yoga in beautiful and expensive places. And while meditation and incense could definitely play a part in that for some, mindfulness is really about becoming aware of the present moment from a non-judgmental perspective. You don't have to have your eyes closed or sit on the floor. Simply notice the stimuli around you and try to hone in on why you're feeling the way you feel. By being mindful, we can look more critically at the perfectionism we're struggling with and what triggers it, and even where it may have come from to begin with.
Becoming mindful of this can definitely be a little overwhelming, and that's okay. That's all part of the process. Sometimes you just need to sit and just let everything out, how you're feeling, and just kind of feel it, for lack of a better term. Once you get comfortable with being mindful, you'll start to become more aware of yourself as a whole rather than just your perfectionist tendencies. You see, perfectionism comes about when our worldview of ourselves does not match the worldview of what we think we should be.
By practicing mindfulness and thinking about your inner critic, you can be more aware when you're letting perfectionism drive your decisions and emotions. By letting go of control, we can put ourselves in situations where we actually must work through our problems rather than receding to the darkest depths of our subconscious. Rather than hiding from our fear of failure, we can face it head on and politely tell it to get fucked.
Do you struggle with perfectionism? It's one of those things that I deal with on a daily basis at this point, whether it's me feeling like my home isn't clean enough, or that I feel like a video isn't flowing correctly, or something at work isn't happening the way I want it to. I really do try to find a sense of control, and it is a continued practice of me trying to let go of that control. So I'm really keen to hear your experiences with it down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.